On this day in history, we remember the remarkable individuals who shaped our world. Welcome to Who Died Today in History, where we honor their legacies. From artists to leaders, their impact lives on. If you find their stories meaningful, like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay connected.
Thank you to all our amazing channel members for your generous support.
Paul Sorvino, the commanding character actor best known for his role as Paulie Cicero in Goodfellas, died of natural causes on July 25, 2022, at the age of 83. His passing marked the loss of a cinematic presence that embodied both gravitas and vulnerability, a reminder of the complex masculinity portrayed in American film during the late 20th century. Though often cast as mobsters or authority figures, Sorvino brought depth, elegance, and unexpected tenderness to his roles, leaving a legacy that continues to resonate with audiences. Sorvino began his career on the stage, with roots in classical theater and opera, before transitioning to television and film, while his breakout role came in Martin Scorsese's Goodfellas, 1990, where he portrayed a soft-spoken yet formidable mafia boss. His talents extended well beyond gangster archetypes. In films like Romeo plus Juliet and the TV series Law and Order, he proved his range, capable of stern intensity as well as emotional nuance. His real-life passions for poetry, painting, and opera offered a striking contrast to the tough guys he often portrayed. His death came at a moment when Hollywood was reckoning with its portrayals of masculinity and violence. Sorvino's work, especially in Goodfellas, remains iconic, but it also invites reflection on how cinema romanticizes power, loyalty, and brutality. Yet, unlike many of his peers, Sorvino resisted glorification of violence. His performance was laced with quiet menace and moral complexity, showing that true power often lies not in loud threats, but in silence and control. The immediate aftermath of his passing brought heartfelt tributes from fans, critics, and fellow actors. His daughter, actress Mira Sorvino, publicly honored his legacy, offering a personal lens into the man behind the roles. The grief was not just for a performer, but for a generation of actors who shaped modern cinema with grounded, character-driven storytelling. Paul Sorvino's death underscores how we remember artists not only for their performances, but for the emotions they stirred and the truths they reflected. We immortalize him through enduring film roles, through family, and through the continued relevance of his work in a changing industry. In the final measure, Sorvino reminds us that legacy is not built solely on fame, but on the integrity of one's craft and the authenticity brought to every line, every look, every role. Barbara Sinatra, the influential philanthropist and fourth wife of legendary singer Frank Sinatra, died of natural causes on July 25, 2017, at the age of 90. Her passing marked the end of a life spent not in the blinding spotlight of celebrity for her own fame, but in purposeful work, particularly in advocating for children's rights and protecting victims of abuse. While her name was inextricably linked to one of the most iconic figures of the 20th century, Barbara carved out her own legacy rooted in compassion, strength, and social responsibility. Originally a model and showgirl, Barbara first gained national recognition through her marriage to Frank Sinatra in 1976. Their union lasted until his death in 1998, making it the singer's longest marriage. Yet Barbara was far more than a celebrity spouse. In 1986, she co-founded the Barbara Sinatra Children's Center in Rancho Mirage, California, a facility dedicated to helping children who had suffered physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. The center became a cornerstone of her identity and work, one that outlived the glamour of Hollywood and the shadow of her famous husband. Her death came at a time when social movements, such as #MeToo, were beginning to expose the prevalence of abuse and misconduct, particularly in elite and powerful circles. In that light, Barbara's decades-long commitment to child advocacy appeared not only prescient, but brave. While she never positioned herself as a loud activist, her work was direct and practical, rooted in healing and prevention rather than performance. The immediate response to her passing was one of admiration and reverence, especially from the philanthropic community. While she was often described in the media as Frank Sinatra's widow, tributes emphasized her own contributions, highlighting the thousands of children whose lives were changed by the programs she spearheaded. Barbara Sinatra's death invites us to consider how memory and influence are shaped not only by fame, but by impact. We often immortalize entertainers and public figures through awards, biographies, or biopics, but Barbara's enduring legacy is etched into a place of healing, where lives are mended rather than celebrated. Her passing reminds us that true power lies in the quiet, persistent work of compassion, and that immortality, at its most meaningful, often lives in the futures we help rebuild. John Saxon, the rugged, dark-eyed actor whose career spanned more than 6 decades, died of pneumonia on July 25, 2020, at the age of 83. His death marked the loss of a consummate character actor, one who straddled the worlds of mainstream Hollywood, cult cinema, and international film with quiet versatility. Saxon's passing reflected the fading presence of an era in film where genre actors were craftspeople, shaping pop culture from the shadows rather than the spotlight. Born Carmine Orrico in Brooklyn, Saxon was discovered as a teen and transformed into a screen-ready persona by Universal Pictures, a common practice during the studio era. He came of age in the 1950s and 1960s, a period when Hollywood was rebranding masculinity for the post-war world, gritty, handsome, and self-contained. Saxon fit the mold, but refused to be boxed in. Though he often played tough guys, lawmen, or villains, he brought intelligence and dignity to even the most pulp-driven roles. His most recognizable work came from genre-defining projects like Enter the Dragon, 1973, where he starred alongside Bruce Lee, and A Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984, where he portrayed Nancy's father. These films didn't just earn cult status, they became foundational to martial arts and horror cinema, respectively. Saxon's involvement in both underscored his unique ability to bridge genres and audiences across decades. The immediate reaction to his death was one of quiet reverence. Fans and filmmakers remembered him not only for his iconic roles, but for his consistent professionalism and range. While his passing did not send political or cultural shockwaves, it was a reflective moment for cinephiles, an acknowledgement that Saxon belonged to a vanishing breed of actors who elevated genre storytelling through sheer presence and skill. Saxon's death invites a broader reflection on how memory and legacy operate in Hollywood. Not every influential figure is a marquee name. Many, like Saxon, live on in the minds of audiences who grew up with their films, quoting lines, revisiting characters, and recognizing their subtle influence in newer stars and stories. We immortalize John Saxon not just through film festivals, retrospectives, or Blu-ray collections, but through the lasting resonance of the worlds he helped build. His legacy reminds us that the scaffolding of cinematic greatness often rests on those who never sought the center stage, but always delivered when the camera rolled. Yoko Shimada, the acclaimed Japanese actress best known to Western audiences for her role as Mariko in the epic miniseries Shogun, died on July 25, 2022, from complications of colorectal cancer at the age of 69. Her passing was quiet compared to the global acclaim she once received, yet it carried profound significance, both as the end of a career that bridged East and West, and as a reflection of the complex roles women were expected to navigate in both traditional and modern societies. Shimada's breakthrough came during a time when international exposure for Japanese actors was rare. In Shogun, she portrayed Lady Mariko with quiet strength and poignant dignity, earning a Golden Globe and becoming the first Japanese actress nominated for an Emmy. At a time when portrayals of Asian characters in Western media were often one-dimensional or stereotyped, Shimada brought authenticity and nuance to her role. She spoke her lines in English phonetically, mastering the language for the sake of the performance, a testament to her discipline and drive. Her death symbolized not only the fading of a particular moment in global television history, but also highlighted the challenges of sustaining international fame as a Japanese actress. Despite her talent, opportunities in Hollywood were limited, and her later career was marked by personal and professional struggles, including financial hardship and public scrutiny in Japan, where the intersection of fame and privacy for women remains especially fraught. The immediate reaction to her death was one of subdued mourning. In Japan, she was remembered for her elegance and courage, and among Western fans of Shogun, her performance stood as a landmark in cross-cultural storytelling. Her passing reignited discussions about representation, the limited longevity of fame for foreign artists in Western media, and the quiet grace with which she bore the weight of her early success. Yoko Shimada's life and death remind us that the journey of artists, especially those crossing linguistic and cultural boundaries, is rarely smooth. Yet her legacy endures in the images and performances she left behind. We immortalize her through screen re-releases, tributes, and the cultural bridge she helped build between East and West. Her death invites reflection on how global memory is shaped, not only by achievement, but by the courage to be seen in full, even when the world may not yet be ready. Hywell Bennett, the Welsh actor best remembered for his sly charm and enigmatic presence in British film and television, died on July 25, 2017, at the age of 73 from a long illness. His death was largely quiet, yet it signified the passing of a distinctive voice in British screen acting, one that captured the restlessness and complexity of a generation coming of age during a time of profound cultural transformation. Bennett rose to fame in the 1960s and 1970s, a period when British cinema was shifting away from stiff upper-lip conservatism and toward grittier, more psychological storytelling. His breakout role came with The Family Way, 1966, where he portrayed a shy newlywed navigating the awkward terrain of married life, an emblem of the sexual revolution's quieter battles. He soon became known for his everyman appeal, often playing outsiders, eccentrics, or troubled intellectuals. Perhaps most notably, he starred in Shelley, a long-running sitcom in which he played a sardonic, perpetually unemployed intellectual, a role that satirized Britain's shifting economic and social landscape in the Thatcher era. His later years were more withdrawn from the spotlight, with declining health and fewer public appearances. When he passed, tributes from fellow actors and critics emphasized his unique ability to make vulnerability magnetic, even subversive. His death didn't spark international headlines, but for British audiences, especially those who grew up watching Shelley, it marked the loss of a cultural mirror, one that had reflected the cynicism and dry wit of a restless time. Bennett's passing revealed the fleeting nature of fame in an era before global celebrity, when national stars shaped public consciousness more through subtlety than spectacle. His characters often resisted easy answers or tidy resolutions, reflecting a society wrestling with economic uncertainty, class tension, and identity. In remembering Hywell Bennett, we honor a kind of actor who was less interested in stardom and more devoted to truth-telling through humor, melancholy, and realism. He is immortalized through reruns, archived interviews, and the enduring sharpness of his best performances. His legacy reminds us that memory and art often survive not in grand monuments, but in the quiet precision of a well-delivered line, or the knowing glance of a man who understood the soul of his time. Charlie Rich, often dubbed the Silver Fox, died of a pulmonary embolism on July 25, 1995, at the age of 62. His death, which occurred while he was traveling with his wife in Louisiana, brought an abrupt end to the life of a genre-blending musical force, an artist who challenged the constraints of country music and brought a deep, soulful complexity to the American soundscape. Rich's career defied easy categorization. Emerging from Sun Records, the same label that launched Elvis Presley and Johnny Cash, he began with rockabilly roots before shifting into jazz, blues, and country. In the 1970s, his career exploded with hits like Behind Closed Doors and The Most Beautiful Girl, which helped usher in the country-politan sound, a smoother, more orchestrated style of country music aimed at mainstream audiences. His rich baritone, emotive phrasing, and genre-crossing arrangements appealed to a wide demographic at a time when American music was breaking down racial and stylistic boundaries. The era in which Rich rose to fame was one of cultural transformation. As the U.S. struggled with questions of identity, morality, and progress during the Civil Rights Movement and Vietnam War, Rich's music spoke to a longing for intimacy, personal reflection, and emotional authenticity. His style often clashed with the more conservative wing of country music, a tension famously displayed when, at the 1975 CMA Awards, he dramatically lit fire to the announcement card naming John Denver, a more pop-oriented performer, as Entertainer of the Year. Though the act was controversial, it underscored Rich's deep ambivalence about the industry's direction and his own artistic boundaries. His death, while not marked by the shock of tragedy, prompted a re-evaluation of his contributions. Fans and musicians alike recognized him as a trailblazer who brought sophistication and depth to a genre often defined by simplicity. His passing signaled the fading of an era when artistry and country music leaned into complexity, emotional vulnerability, and musical fusion. Charlie Rich reminds us that legacy is not only built on accolades, but on the emotional truths artists share through their work. We remember him not with statues or headlines, but in the warm ache of his songs, immortal echoes of longing, love, and the timeless search for meaning through music.